Hurts going for A.J. Brown. It is short. It is intercepted.
It is go time, baby. Preseason is finally over. All 53-man rosters have been finalized. All clear for takeoff on the 2024 NFL season. With the long and painful wait finally over, how about we dive into our final win-loss predictions for all 32 NFL teams in 2024. Arizona Cardinals, 6-11. The Cardinals won 4 games last year without Kyler Murray for 9 games. They play in an unforgiving NFC West, but improvement is inevitable with a healthy Murray, and with can't-miss rookie wideout Marvin Harrison Jr. joining that offense. Arizona isn't ready to compete for a playoff berth, but progress will be made again under second-year head coach Jonathan Gannon. Atlanta Falcons, 11-6. The Falcons won 7 games last year with Desmond Ridder and Taylor Heineke as their quarterbacks. They have nowhere to go but up with 4-time Pro Bowler Kirk Cousins now taking over the offense. With football's easiest schedule at their advantage, Captain Kirk should lead Atlanta to their first NFC South Division crown since 2016. Their final 7 games are against teams who finished below 500 in 2023, so anything less than double-digit wins should be deemed a disappointment in Atlanta. Baltimore Ravens, 12-5. Inevitable improvement inside the AFC North means the Ravens will struggle to finish with football's top regular season record again. But, you know, Lamar Jackson, Derrick Henry, and a lights-out defense are just too much to prevent Baltimore from snagging another division crown. Buffalo Bills, 10-7. A tough cap situation forced the Bills to bid farewell to many key veterans, namely Stephon Diggs, Micah Hyde, and Jordan Poyer. Hard to see Buffalo winning a 5th straight AFC East division crown, but hey, Josh Allen alone is enough to lead them to a double-digit wins. Carolina Panthers, 4-13. Yeah, it's hard to imagine Carolina being any worse than the 2-win squad from last year, especially given the offensive reinforcements now around Bryce Young. But when you look at Carolina's schedule, it is hard to circle many games that they can realistically win. Bryce Young will improve, but Panthers fans ought to remember that it's a marathon and not a sprint here. Chicago Bears, 9-8. We wanted to give the Bears double-digit wins here because we're already buying the hype on Caleb Williams and the star-studded Chicago offense. But playing in the NFC North with 2 Super Bowl contenders and facing the entire NFC West really makes 10+ wins easier said than done. Still, there is enough young talent in place here for Chicago to finish above 500 for the first time since 2018. Cincinnati Bengals, 11-6. Joe Burrow missed 7 games last year, and yet the Bengals still finished 9-8 despite playing in a division with 3 other playoff teams. Surely, a healthy Joe Cool is worth 2 additional wins, even with one of football's toughest schedules. The nice part about the Bengals schedule is that there are only 2 stretches during which they have back-to-back games against teams that finished above 500 last year. So hey, see you guys back in the playoffs in January. Cleveland Browns, 10-7. The Browns have the toughest strength of schedule for 2024 as their opponents combined for a ridiculous 547 winning percentage last season. But with a lights-out defense, a healthy Deshaun Watson, and Jerry Jeudy giving Cleveland a dangerous number 2 receiver opposite Amari Cooper, it is hard to bet against a second straight winning season for the Browns. Big if, but if Watson regains his Houston Texans-like form in 2024, the Browns could emerge as Kansas City's biggest challenger in the AFC. Dallas Cowboys, 11-6. A tricky schedule and inevitable improvement in the NFC East means that Dallas is short of a 4th straight 12+ win season. Doesn't mean that Jerry Jones's group will unravel entirely, though. I mean, as we all know, Dak Prescott and company will look like Super Bowl contenders in the regular season before ultimately imploding in the postseason. And then Mike McCarthy will get a 5-year extension. Yep, just more of the same here in Big D. Denver Broncos, 5-12. 2024 is a year of transition for a Broncos team that bid farewell to Russell Wilson, Jerry Jeudy, and Justin Simmons. This year is about developing rookie QB Bo Nix and seeing if the young defense can take a step forward. Sean Payton's brilliant coaching will keep the Broncos tough and competitive, but anything more than 5 wins would be miraculous for this team that is lacking in proven game changers on offense. Detroit Lions, 12-5. No reason to think that the Lions won't just be as good, if not better, than last year's group. They are locked and loaded on both sides of the ball and enter an NFL season with legitimate Super Bowl aspirations for the first time since actually, just maybe ever in their entire history. The NFC North figures to be trickier this year, but the Lions have one of the most loaded rosters in football. 12 or more wins should not be an issue for Dan Campbell's group. Green Bay Packers 11-6. Jordan Love played like an MVP in the second half of 2023 and led the Packers to a wild-card berth and divisional round appearance. Love, his young set of receivers, and newcomer Josh Jacobs will elevate the Packers to their best record since 2021 and a second straight playoff appearance. Houston Texans 11-6. So, what's for an encore here? The Texans were the big surprise of 2023 by winning the AFC South in a playoff game before bowing out to the Ravens in the divisional round. CJ Stroud has two new big-time weapons in Stephon Diggs and Joe Mixon. With ex-Minnesota Vikings star Danielle Hunter joining the Will Anderson Jr.-led defense, the Texans should make the jump to Super Bowl contender this year. We fully expect a second straight crown for D'Amico Ryans' group. Indianapolis Colts 7-10. The Colts went 9-8 last season, even though starting QB Anthony Richardson and star running back Jonathan Taylor combined to play just 14 games. So, improvement is inevitable, right? Well, not quite, unfortunately. The Colts were big-time overachievers last year and benefited from a very soft schedule. 7 of their first 10 games are against teams who finished with winning records in 2023. So, finishing above 500 again feels like a bit of a pipe dream. Jacksonville Jaguars 10-7. The Jags looked like legitimate contenders in the first half of 2023, standing pretty at 8-3 with 6 games to go. But they inexplicably unraveled with losses in 5 of their final 6 games to finish 9-8 and miss out on the postseason. But this team is far too talented to not at least finish with 10 wins in 2024. Trevor Lawrence is loaded with playmakers across the board, and the rebuilt front 7 will help this defense bounce back from a rough year. The opening schedule slate is tough with 4 straight games against teams who finished above 500 last year, but it eases down from there, with their final 5 games taking place against teams who missed the playoffs in 2023. Kansas City Chiefs 13-4. The Chiefs won Super Bowl 58 last year as a number 3 seed and are somehow a lot more dangerous on paper. Life just isn't fair for opposing teams. We know. Patrick Mahomes remains the best player in the game. An offensive Travis Kelce, Rashee Rice, Marquise Brown, Xavier Worthy, and Asai Pacheco is borderline unstoppable. And Steve Spagnuolo's defense is not about to lose its swagger. It'd be a surprise if the road to Super Bowl 59 did not run through Arrowhead Stadium in 2024. Las Vegas Raiders 5-12. The Raiders finished strong under Antonio Pierce last season, and he is certainly more qualified to be a head coach than the disaster that was Josh McDaniels. But it's hard to see Vegas competing in a loaded AFC with a QB room of Gardner Minshew and Aiden O'Connell. Losing former rushing champion Josh Jacobs in free agency stings big time too. With uncertainty at QB, it's hard to see Vegas matching or topping last year's 8-9 record. Los Angeles Chargers 7-10. Only 4 teams have an easier strength of schedule than Jim Harbaugh's Chargers, but we're going to be pumping the brakes a bit on a return to the postseason in 2024. The secondary has its flaws, and Justin Herbert lost his 2 best receivers in Mike Williams and Keenan Allen. Harbaugh and GM Ortiz avoided aggressive offseason moves and stuck to their goal of rebuilding the roster patiently. Don't get us wrong, it is the right approach, but that also means keeping expectations realistic for 2024. Los Angeles Rams 10-7. The Rams lost Aaron Donald to retirement, but brought in several new faces to keep the defense intact, including standout defensive backs Tre'Davious White, Darius Williams, Cameron Curl, and prized rookie Jared Verse. Throw in an offensive machine led by Matt Stafford, Cooper Kupp, Puka Nacua, and Kyren Williams, and the Rams should be right back in the postseason. Miami Dolphins 10-7. The Dolphins finished 11-6 last year for their best finish since 2008. But they only beat 1 team with a winning record during the regular season. Then they went out punchless against Kansas City in the wildcard round. A healthy Aaron Rodgers makes the New York Jets a more formidable opponent. So you can knock gimme wins off Miami's schedule. We still have questions about the O-line and defense, but hey, the high-flying Tua Tagovailoa and Tyreek Hill-led offense is enough to keep them in playoff contention. Minnesota Vikings 5-12. If J.J. McCarthy didn't have a season-ending knee injury, we would deem the Vikings a sleeper team for 2024. But we have no faith in Sam Darnold at quarterback, and losing superstar tight end T.J. Hawkinson for at least 4 games is another big-time blow for this offense. Minnesota is merely the 4th best team in their division, so expect another rough year in the Gopher State. New England Patriots 3-14. Year 1 of the post-Bill Belichick era and a painful long-term rebuild is now ahead in New England. They have the league's worst set of weapons, a suspect offensive line, and a leaky defense that traded its best player, Matt Judon, to the Atlanta Falcons. Playing in an AFC East with 3 Super Bowl contenders is just extra cruelty for Jared Mayo's team. Sorry, Pats fans, but the dynastic run was not going to last forever. New Orleans Saints, 9-8. The Saints have one of the softest schedules for 2024. But guess what? They also did last season, and they only finished 9-8. Yeah, we don't see Derek Carr elevating his game much after an up-and-down first year in New Orleans. Chris Olave, Alvin Kamara, and the Cam Jordan-led defense are enough to keep the Saints in wildcard contention. But the limitations of Carr mean that the Saints are going to fall short of double-digit victories for a fourth straight season. New York Giants, 4-13. Hard to see the Giants rebounding from last year with Daniel Jones returning as the starting quarterback again. Did we mention that they also lost superstar running back Saquon Barkley and their best defensive back in Xavier McKinney to the Packers in free agency? You can mark down 4 losses against the Giants' AFC North opponents and 4 more against the Cowboys and Eagles. Soft opponents like Washington, Carolina, and Minnesota will help the Giants record multiple wins, but they're still going to be in contention to draft a top QB prospect next year. So, you know, a bit of a win-win. New York Jets, 11-6. If Aaron Rodgers is healthy, then the Jets will be a bona fide Super Bowl contender in 2024. They have a top 10 defense, a 4-time MVP at quarterback, a rebuilt O-line, and a very nice set of weapons led by Garrett Wilson, Mike Williams, and Breece Hall. If Rodgers manages to play all 17 games, the Jets should win their first division crown since 2002. Philadelphia Eagles, 11-6. It'll be neck and neck between the Eagles and Cowboys for the NFC East. Philly did lose franchise star Jason Kelce to retirement, but newcomers like Saquon Barkley, CJ Gardner-Johnson, Bryce Huff, Cooper Jean, and Quinion Mitchell will more than make up for this loss. The Eagles have one of the most difficult schedules among NFC teams, but most of those challenging games are at home. So, yeah, I think we'll take them to win the NFC East via tiebreaker as Jalen Hurts rebounds from a miserable late-season collapse in 2023. Pittsburgh Steelers, 10-7. 4 teams with double-digit wins in the AFC North? Oh yeah, you betcha. Alright, so hear us out. The Steelers won 10 games last year with Kenny Pickett, Mitch Trubisky, and Mason Rudolph at quarterback. Russell Wilson and Justin Fields are both significant upgrades over those 3. So yeah, throw in their stingy defense and a dynamic rushing game, and you have a 10-win team and dark horse Super Bowl contender. San Francisco 49ers, 12-5. The reigning NFC champion will vie for the best regular season record in football once again. Yep, nothing new to see here. The 49ers have the most stacked roster in the NFC and are still the team to beat in the conference despite another heartbreaking Super Bowl defeat. No reason to think that they won't win a 3rd straight division crown. Seattle Seahawks, 7-10. The Seahawks swapped out Pete Carroll for Mike McDonald as head coach, but lost far more talent than they gained. As such, we are not buying a 3rd straight winning season here. Seattle will be competitive with the DK Metcalf, Tyler Lockett, and Kenneth Walker-led offense. They'll pull off a couple of upsets and beat down on the weaker opponents, but playing in the NFC West with the Rams and 49ers means that life isn't always fair. 7 wins is far more realistic than the 9 that they recorded in each of the last 2 years. Tampa Bay Buccaneers, 7-10. Baker Mayfield was a pretty fun story last year, but we're on the side of it being a flash in the pan. The Bucs had a laughable schedule and still only finished 9-8 last year. The Falcons are better, the Panthers will improve, and Mayfield is unlikely to repeat a career year with Dave Canales leaving for Carolina. Tampa is going to fall back to earth here and miss the postseason for the first time since 2019. Tennessee Titans, 5-12. Yeah, take a look at the Titans' first 6 games, and 1-5 or 0-6 aren't out of the question. It's definitely a rebuilding year with new offensive coordinator Brian Callahan, who is tasked with unlocking Will Levis's potential. Keep expectations reasonable for a team residing in a division that produced 3 clubs with winning records. Washington Commanders, 4-13. Now, Washington won't be boring under rookie QB Jaden Daniels and the new coach GM regime of Dan Quinn and Adam Peters. But again, let's keep expectations fair for a young team that is far from ready for prime time. 2024 is about developing Daniels and building his confidence as a pro. The Commanders won't get many wins with the Eagles and Cowboys in their division, nor with the entire AFC North being on their schedule. But hey, who do you think is going to finish with the NFL's best and worst regular season records in 2024? Do you think our predictions are pretty close, or do you think we're a bit off? Let us know in the comment section below. If you liked this video and learned a thing or two, clicking the like button helps out a ton. And hey, we appreciate it. If this is your first time coming around to TPS though, subscribing is a great idea, because we put out videos like this every single day. But as always, thanks for watching, and we'll see you guys next time.